Kazakhstan, 30 years of independence. Once we were a part of one country, we were close neighbors, 15 republics of the Soviet Union. Much has changed since 1991, but one thing has remained unchanged. We are still close neighbors today. How did the relationships between our nations develop in the past? What is happening now, and what are our plans for the future? How do people in our countries live and interact with each other? Kazakhstan and its neighbors in a special Qazaq TV project, Close Neighbors. Bright illumination, high-tech skyscrapers, and again, illumination. Historical monuments coexist with futuristic buildings, modern culture intertwines with antiquity. In this country, they are confidently looking into the future and respect traditions. Tajikistan. The oldest dish in Tajik cuisine is kurutop. Nobody knows exactly when it appeared. They say that the Dekhans, or the farmers, came up with its recipe. Meat was a rarity on the table. That's why a vegetable alternative was found. Family recipe from Apay Kumri. It is based on a puff pastry fatir, so delicate that it breaks right in the hands. Pieces are laid out on the bottom of the dish. Then kurut, diluted in warm water, or cottage cheese, chaka in Tajik, is added. It is filled with hot flaxseed zagir, a special oil, fragrant and very tasty. The dish is served on wooden plates. People eat kurutop with their hands, like the Kazakh bishbarmak. The final touch is a salad prepared in advance from onions, tomatoes, and cucumbers. They have already released enough juice during cooking. Nobody knows how the national dish turned into street fast food, but today this delicacy gave a start to the restaurants of the same name, kurutop khona. And it doesn't matter, home or street, in Tajikistan, kurutop is cooked the same way everywhere, equally tasty. They say the secret of taste is in flour, and it is a Kazakh flour. Break the fatir of friendship. Diplomatic relations between the two countries took place in 1993, and after that, thanks to the forward-looking policy of the leaders of the two countries, trade, economic, cultural, and humanitarian relations are developing increasingly well with each year. The Republic of Tajikistan is a state in Central Asia located in the foothills of the Pamirs and has no access to the sea. It borders with Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, China, and Afghanistan. Territory 143,100 square kilometers, 93rd in the world. The population as of January 1st, 2021 is more than 9.5 million people. Capital Dushanbe. National currency Tajik somoni. Diplomatic relations between the Republic of Tajikistan and the Republic of Kazakhstan were established on January 7, 1993. Immersed in greenery, crowded and hospitable, Tajikistan, the capital Dushanbe is changing so rapidly that every visit turns into a study of new old places. Before it was a grandiose construction, now it is a stunning architectural object. The guides don't talk about it. The magnificent Kohi Navruz Palace and rock paintings of Tamgalitas in Kazakhstan. The authors of petroglyphs of the Bronze Age and modern architects are almost 30 centuries apart. However, these two significant objects are a real miracle. And it's not just words. Officially, both are included in the list of wonders of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. This building is considered our landmark as the fruit of our independent Republic of Tajikistan. Kohi Navruz is a complex of amazingly beautiful halls. The ceiling is decorated with artistic traditional painting. The walls are covered with ganj carving on a mirrored background, and the floor is made of granite. Hol Arjang, 29 types of semi-precious stones in Tajikistan. They were delivered from various regions of the republic and processed here. Hol Gulistan, with amazing engraving, columns, and a crystal lamp weighing 3 tons. Hol Zarandut, with a twice as heavy chandelier. On the wall there is a golden crown with 7 stars. And they are also decorated with carvings on mirrors and glass. The highest hall in the complex. The most distinguished guests are welcomed here. We have 300-400 people at this round table. A lot of meetings are held here. There were such summits here as the summit of 27 leaders of the countries of Central Asia, 12 prime ministers of the CIS countries. We received Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, here. The meeting of our president with the country's intellectuals also took place here. But the very first high-level meeting that took place here was the Shanghai Summit in 1914. To walk through the ceremonial halls, carefully examine the details, and learn interesting facts. The unofficial life of Kohi Navruz. Tourists are frequent guests here. The palace is open for visitation 5 days a week. They made an exception for us. Saturday, the guide and filming. But there was a knock on the door. Foreign tourists passing through Dushanbe couldn't help but visit this place.
I want to show you from our Tajik fairy tales lines.
Another knock. Tourists again, doctors from Kazakhstan, and an unexpected but yet symbolic meeting. On the wall you see the coat of arms of the Republic of Tajikistan. It is covered with gold leaf. This parquet is made from 94 varieties of wood. That's why there is always the smell of wood in this hall. It's also called the Hall of Health. But a couple of hours ago, doctors were in another Hall of Health, literally.
Есть определенные особенности системы здравоохранения данной страны.
There are certain features of the healthcare system in this country, and we discussed it with the Deputy Minister of Health here in Dushanbe and with academicians. We also gave lectures together with my colleague Marat Ashaev on the topic of endovascular treatment of brain pathologies, as well as microsurgical operations for pathology of cerebral vessels. The doctors were quite happy about our cooperation. In the future, we plan to hold master classes here and share our experiences.
И в будущем мы планируем проводить здесь мастер-классы, обмениваться опытом.
Kazakh-Tajik cooperation in almost all areas of medicine. Since Soviet times, it has been a tradition. Usually we share our experience, but there are also young people from our country who study in Kazakhstan. We also have a medical university where we have Kazakh students. Successful collaboration in medicine and education. After gaining independence, our countries seem to have become even closer. Every year, a certain number of Kazakh students are sent to our country. They study together with our local students for 2 or 3 months. They attend classes, while our students from Tajikistan travel to Kazakhstan. This way we have a student exchange, which is very good. This has been going on for several years. After official events, how can you not get to know the city? It's crowded at any time of the day. There are both tourists and locals. Dusti Square. And the main symbol of the city and the country, the monument to Ismail ibn Ahmad Samoni. The emergence of the first centralized state of Tajiks is associated with his name. Historians call the period of his reign the noontide of the Samanid dynasty. Along with the economy, there was also cultural growth. The famous philosopher and physician Avicenna, author of the epic poem Shahnameh Firdausi, the founder of Persian Tajik literature Abu Rudaki. Persian was not just the language of Firdausi, Hafiz, or Omar Khayyam. It was also the language of diplomacy and history and literature. Native language and reading class, the sun on the blackboard and a typical inscription on it. Great work, only in Tajik. An ordinary school, Dushanbe, a win-win TV move. Children. White bows and ties and the colors of the national flag, skull caps, and poetry lines. Children of independence, the population of Tajikistan has almost doubled over the last 30 years. The smallest country of all the states of Central Asia, before the Soviet Union, part of the huge Bukhara Emirate. Here the Tajiks were one of many peoples, but the only ones who were not the Turks. The headquarters of the emirate was here. Hisar is the capital of eastern Bukhara. Once there was a nosy market square with a caravanserai and many shops, and a little further away, merchants stopped, gained strength, exchanged goods, ideas and stories about distant wanderings. For our guest from Kazakhstan. Today, this vibrant merchant rows are no longer there, but the traditions remained, the same cultural exchange and trade, although with souvenirs, but national and unique, and stories from the nomads of the 21st century, very emotional. The most beautiful place is Balkhash, a very lukewarm lake. We vacationed there a whole month in the summer. Why was it beautiful? Did you like water or nature? Nature in general was great. In the mountains, the lake was very cool, which is a great thing to have in summer. We had a great time there. As if immersed into Oriental fairy tale, Hisar is a tourist pearl of the country. Here they conduct excursions for school children and arrange wedding photo sessions, and not only on the territory of the fortress. The nature of the Hisar Valley is unique, mountain peaks on all sides. By the way, Tajikistan consists mainly of mountains. They make up 93% of the entire territory of the republic. Picturesque rocks, gorgeous snow-capped ridges. Here is the Pamir, the roof of the world, and as usual, the roof rests on supports. One of them is located in the Tian Shan Mountains. This ridge is like the roots of the huge Pamir system. In recent years, mountaineering, mountain sports, and ecological tourism have been actively developing in the country. There are several 7,000ers here. The highest point of the Pamirs is the Congol Peak with a height of 7,649 meters, located in China. In Tajikistan, there are Ismoil Samoni Peak, 7,495 meters, Lenin Peak, 7,134 meters, and Korzhenevskaya Peak, 7,105 meters. But mountains are not only not so much about tourism. In Tajikistan, they say that they contain the entire periodic table: lead, copper, uranium, iron, magnesium, silver, zinc, gold. By the way, gold. Today, it's half of the country's exports. Since the 1930s, the country has had a geological boom. Soviet geodesists discovered and studied hundreds of mineral deposits. Kanish Satpayev is among the researchers. At the time, a young, promising scientist had devoted a lot of time to the Fraternal Soviet Republic.
Он был известен не только в Советском Союзе, и за пределами страны.
He was known not only in the Soviet Union but also outside the country. At the time, when he was working in science, he created some institutes. We know that the Academy of Sciences was inaugurated in 1946. He also helped to open the Academy of Science in Tajikistan and in other republics of the Soviet Union.
Он помог открыть и в Таджикистане, и в других республиках Советского Союза.
Memories of Satpayev exist not only on paper. The first honorary member of the Academy of Sciences of the Tajik SSR, Kanish Satpayev did not just advise Tajik colleagues, he heavily contributed to the opening of the country's most important scientific organization. Kanish Satpayev is the founder of Tajik Geology and Academy. The corner of glory of Kazakhstan is the Bayterek Cultural Center. Here indeed, every corner is dedicated to our country, national heroes, folk instruments, joint projects, and their implementation. It's like we're at home, However, persimmons and pomegranates grow in the yard, and the weather doesn't feel like it's autumn.
Вот у нас в краю города Душанбе есть место.
We have a place on the edge of the city of Dushanbe. It is called Kazakh. Back in the day, Kazakhs walked to these places, but they had no idea what place it was. They walked here with their cattle. The main percentage of Kazakhs remained in Kurgan-Tobe. Kazakhs called it Kurgan-Tobe. There is a large hill, and the main percentage of Kazakhs live there.
И вот основной процент казахов там было.
Representatives of the Kazakh diaspora study the history of the migration of Kazakhs to Tajikistan, as well as the history of modern Kazakhstan. They get acquainted with each other or with traditions, and most importantly, speak their native language. Quarantine did not become a hindrance. On the contrary, new communications and new opportunities.
Зауряпай, приехать не могу, транспорт подорожал.
Zauriapai, I can't come. The transport fee has risen in price. Let's do it over the call. Young people have become clever. They can do it by phone. Zauriapai, just send it to me or talk to me in Kazakh. Do you understand? Now, compared to those years, it has become easier because colloquial speech is needed. In general, the Kazakh diaspora treats all compatriots with trepidation. The winding mountain road leads further and further away from the tourist center. Martian landscapes give way to colorful life. Guarded object, Nurek hydroelectric power plant. Water is not only a source of life, but also an energy accumulator. Today, the hydroelectric power station provides over 75% of the country's electricity. In terms of hydropower resources, Tajikistan occupies one of the first places in the world. At the Nurek hydroelectric power station, there were a lot of Kazakhs working. It was like a worldwide project. People came here to work from all countries. Well, they say that there were about 50 Kazakhs working here. But few people in other countries of the world believed in the possibility of building this hydroelectric power station. Both American and European hydraulic engineers doubted the idea of Soviet scientists. And yet it was built. It takes your breath away when you realize that you are standing on an artificial embankment. The volume is almost 60 million cubic meters. The dam was included in the Guinness Book of Records as the highest one in the world. Its height is 304 meters and the total area is 98 square kilometers. Contribution of builders is reflected in the main stela of the region, All Union Shock Komsomol construction site. Minutes of Nurek are hundreds of thousands of cubic meters of precious water for the desert lands of Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, with their gardens and cotton fields. Once upon a time, white gold occupied the entire agricultural area of the country. Tajikistan provided cotton to the entire Soviet Union.
Алматинский текстиль камера работал на таджикском.
The Almaty textile factory worked using Tajik cotton. In addition to the white varieties of cotton, we also produced a beige variety. When cotton was just experiencing its heyday and Tajikistan was starting to produce colored raw cotton, it all collapsed.
На производство цветного хлопка сердца. Цветного. Но все это разрушилось.
Infrastructure, yes, but not our relationship. We're building connections again.
Я очень надеюсь, что в будущем Казахстан будет развивать у себя производство тканей, хлопчатой маржи.
I really hope that in the future Kazakhstan will develop the production of fabric, particularly cotton, because it's very important. It's very good for human health. And if Kazakhstan develops the production of cotton clothes, then Tajikistan will be able to find a stable buyer for its raw materials.
Таджикистан сможет найти такого стабильного покупателя нашей продукции.
Soft and fluffy cotton is one of the most labor-intensive crops. It grows for 200 days. All this time, it requires a great deal of care. You need to weed it, water it, and then weed it again. And then you need to gather it, often manually. This must be done quickly, but with great attention. The dry edges of the flower are sharp like a razor. Today, production is not as large-scale as in Soviet times, but the quality of Tajik cotton is still appreciated. The production of fabrics, clothing, and handicrafts is a traditional industry in Tajikistan. Craftsmanship is passed down from generation to generation, as is the careful approach to materials and machines themselves. This is a machine from Hujand. The past and the future are intertwined in these threads. Even today, clothes with bright lancet patterns are always in the wardrobe of Tajik women fashionistas. Several colors can be combined in one element at once. It only seems at first glance that the print was made on factory fabric. In fact, it is handmade. Cotton and silk threads are intertwined 50-50. The colors of the fabric and patterns may vary. It depends on the inspiration of the master. To be precise, it is a machine for handmade work, and this fabric is called adras. There are 1,200 threads. Here are needles. In each needle there is one thread, and here are combs. All this is lined in order. Then a row, and we will make such fabrics. This machine has no buttons, no lights. Everything is manual.
Это станок без никаких кнопок, без никаких цвет. Все это ручной.
The result is numerous awards at festivals. Regional holiday festivities are not complete without Gulnora's works. Handmade doesn't stay long on the shelves, even in Kazakhstan. The craftswoman is inspired by the idea of the diversity of peoples and cultures, whose caravans pass through Ujant and other Asian cities. More than 400,000 tons of cotton fiber are produced annually in the Republic of Tajikistan. Experts believe that cotton fiber made in the Republic of Tajikistan has one of the highest quality properties. So the cotton fiber which is produced in the Republic of Tajikistan is one of the best in the world. It's so delicate. It makes it easy to produce high-quality textile products from it.
И из которого можно производить высококачественную текстильную продукцию.
Tajikistan supplies Kazakhstan with vegetables, fruits, mineral water, lead, zinc, and copper ores, and concentrates, while Kazakhstan imports wheat, flour, liquefied gas, metal products, sunflower oil, construction materials, railway locomotives, and cars. The most beautiful market in Central Asia, Mehrgon. This location is all about food and about architecture, all at the same time. A gastronomic abundance under the exquisite vaults of the newest building, a tourist paradise, full of exotic and yet familiar products. Is this kurt? Tajik kurut. And Korean salads, as if we got to the Green Bazaar in Almaty. And how much does a carrot cost, by the way? 1 kilogram is 30 som, 1 glass is 10 som. And yet, the pride of Tajikistan is its branded flat cakes. Remember, they are made from our flour. The dimensions are impressive.
Мы очень благодарим Казахстан за то, что наша хлебопродукция самая вкусная.
We're very grateful to Kazakhstan that our products are the tastiest of the highest quality. The quality depends on the quality of the grain that is supplied to us from Kazakhstan. And Kazakhstan never lets us down. For example, there is a high demand for Kazakh grain in Europe, especially in the Western Europe, and Kazakhstan is trying to satisfy the requests of Europe too. But the volumes of grain that are supplied to us from year to year are increasing.
Стремится удовлетворить просьбу потребности Европы тоже, но объемы зерна, которые поставляются нам, из года в год растут.
This is how energetically local sellers are preparing for a wedding. A recent tradition is to buy a prepared food in advance. It's both time-saving and a chance for communication. Eastern markets are not just shopping malls. They are known for their atmosphere, traditions, their own aesthetics and philosophy. By the way, Dushanbe is translated as Monday. At the beginning of the last century, there was a small village on the site of the capital where bazaars were held on Mondays, with an interesting etymology. Amazing culture and history, delicious food, high mountains, beautiful nature, medieval cities, attractions, Asian traditions, and customs that have been preserved since ancient times. The country fits perfectly into the new post-pandemic trends: eco, active, and wellness recreation. Tourism is recognized in Tajikistan as one of the priority sectors of the economy, and perhaps in the near future, it will add to the list of already existing bilateral projects and agreements.
Наши страны сотрудничают по многим направлениям, в частности, в области сельского хозяйства, в области промышленности.
Our countries cooperate in many areas, in particular in the field of agriculture, industry, the mining industry, and there are many platforms for building up cooperation between the two countries. These are, of course, the CIS platforms, the SCO platforms, and also an intergovernmental commission, which has been created between our countries on trade and economic cooperation, within the framework of which we're discussing all the issues that are of interest to us. For example, at the last Intergovernmental Commission, which was held in the city of Dushanbe, we discussed issues related to building up trade and economic cooperation, the creation of joint ventures, in particular the creation of commercial and industrial enterprises, as well as the creation of logistics centers.
Торгово-экономического сотрудничества, созданию совместных предприятий, в частности, созданию совместных промышленных предприятий, а также созданию логистических центров.
Joint projects are not only about politics and economics. This is primarily the relationship between people. Their acquaintance and friendship, shared dreams, which often become something more than just an idea. Again, we are in Dushanbe in a serendipitous meeting. We are ready to roll. Tell us how you met and how did you come up with the idea of a joint project of two independent creative associations? This is a pure collaboration. This is not a performance, not a production, not something like that. It's a reading, such an independent theatrical genre. When there is only text, there are only artists. And artists read this text in front of the audience. There is no place for complicated direction. There are no special effects, no music, no scenography. There are only artists, and there is text. And in this format, in general, we present the play. Well, do you have readings in principle? Do you do something of this nature? No, this will be the first experience for us, both for our theater group and for Tajikistan as a whole. I might be mistaken, but I hope that I'm not, because I myself have never heard before that the readings in their pure form are held in front of the audience. It's clear that in the theater everyone conducts something like readings for themselves, but not for the audience, so it will be for the first time. Naturally, for me, it's very exciting and interesting. And in this regard, I welcomed Olga's proposal with pleasure. Let's see what will happen. Although, already by posts or by stories on social networks, I see that they ask, what is it? How is this possible? What do you want to do with this? What's your goal? Come and see, because we're also involved in this for the first time.
Что это такое, как такое возможно, и что вы хотите этим делать, какой ваш, я не знаю, какая ваша цель, да? Я говорю, ну, приходите, посмотрим, потому что мы тоже задействованы в этом впервые.
We were already in another country when the production was in full swing. Later, they wrote to us that the joint creative experiment was a success, an unplanned story or new pages of a centuries-old friendship. Kazakhstan, 30 years of independence, a new look at a long-standing relationship. Medieval cities and futuristic architecture, Guinness's records and Asian traditions, unexpected and yet symbolic meetings. Tajikistan and Kazakhstan in a special Qazaq TV project, Close Neighbors.